Hello people, welcome to my channel, and today we will be ranking female main characters from popular novels, and this will be very controversial. So without further ado, let's begin. So I will be only putting one character in this last purple tier right here, which is how is this character even legal, because I genuinely hate this character so much that I don't even know how they're allowed to be published. And yeah, so let's start. So the first is Word Inverse, and I will be basing this off like different series. And the first one is the Heroes of Olympus series, and we're starting off with Hazel. I think like this is pretty obvious because she was just so Rick. She had so much potential, and then Rick just shoved her off into the background. Like I could have mistaken her for a background statue, and it would have made a difference because she just did not play a role in any of this. I just think that she had so much potential, but then Rick just kind of ruined her. And now we've got a very controversial take, but God, I really hated Piper. And I think that it was because she was genuinely a pick-me. For those who said that, oh, she only dislikes wearing dresses, or oh, she's only having her own opinions, and then it's all justified. I genuinely think that she was a pick-me, because there was this one scene in this book where she was like looking at her siblings, and then they were like, oh God, they are so shallow for wearing makeup. I'm sure they're all bullies or something. And then, girl, why is wearing makeup shallow? You are so shallow for saying that. Like, why would wearing makeup be shallow? And I genuinely think that this is a problem with most word and verse characters, because most of the girl boss characters in Rick Riordan's stories, they just genuinely aren't girly girls, which I think that first of all, there could be more of girly girl characters in this novel, and second of all, why do you have to write about the fact that they literally hate other female characters? I just don't get it. I really hate Piper. And she became their like captain counselor or whatever for like after she called them all shallow. Like imagine the irony. So Annabeth, now a lot of people love Annabeth. Personally, I think that she was mid, because in the first two books I obviously had this connection with her, but then in the third book she started making snarky comments on Rachel about Rachel in Percy or something. And I get that people ship Annabeth and Percy more, obviously, so do I, but to hate on Rachel for that, girl didn't even do anything. Why are people hating on Rachel? I just don't get it. Reina, God, I love Reina so much. Her backstory was one of the best written in the entire Wordverse. There is no competition. And genuinely her character was great. I mean, all her actions were just so selfless, and then she traveled across the Atlantic Ocean by herself, and in the end she had to kill her own Pegasus. That was just a very traumatic moment for her, and she also killed her own father, which was shown throughout the series, and she was very well written. Okay, so next we're moving on to the Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So first of all is Scarlet. Now, I will admit, before I started Caraval, I thought that I would hate Scarlet. I thought that she would be one of those I'm not like other female characters, and I was wrong. Scarlet was actually an okay character. I didn't love her, but she was a great character. And I would put her in mid, because I did kind of forget about her, but then I think that, to repent for my sins, I will put her in Lovable Pookies. Donatella. Now, I know that a lot of people hate Donatella, and I don't know why, because she was so girl boss. She got her and her siblings, her sister, away from her father. She made a deal with a fate, and then her romance plot with Legend was actually great. I shipped them a lot, and I think that with her, a lot in her scenes the plot just moved forward very quickly, and even though she was impulsive and yes, sometimes ignorant, yes, but I think that if I were put in her situation, I genuinely would have done the same things that she did, and she was just using her resources to the best of her advantage. So I will die for her. And then Evangeline. God, I don't like Evangeline. I don't think that I really hated her, but I don't think that I wanted her to die just yet. And I know that a lot of people say that naivety makes a character relatable, and that her character is based around this being very naive and kind, and I genuinely think that when they say that naivety makes a character relatable, it's not to the point where the character is literally stupid. I remember that there was this plot where she was trying to figure out who like which character, not which character, but like which role Jax was, and it was just very obvious that he was the archer, and she still did not manage to get that. Like, if I were put in her situation, I would definitely not be as stupid as she was. Like, so I don't think that she was relatable in that aspect. And also another method I would say that I use to evaluate whether a female character is good is whether or not like other female characters would be kind of like degraded in like scapegoat characters, whether other female characters would be used as scapegoats to make her look better and the other female characters look kind of worse. And there were two scapegoat characters to make her look better, which was Marisol and I think Aurora. And I find this really disappointing because I genuinely thought that Aurora would be like a great character. I loved her. I loved Aurora. And she had so much potential, but she was just used as a scapegoat to make Evangeline look better. Which I think that, first of all, if you need a scapegoat to make your character look better, chances are your character isn't that great in the first place. And second of all, why are you degrading other female characters just to make another female, like your female character look better? I don't get this part. And so now we have like the Shatter Me series, and I genuinely did not like this series much. But if I were to evaluate this simply based on like whether or not I like the characters themselves, I would say that I wanted Julia to die. And I know that this is very controversial, but a character is made up of like both their backstory and their present day character. So Julia's backstory was actually great. It was a lovely backstory. But like her present day character was just so goddamn annoying. Like I remember that there was a scene where like Point Omega people were doing like experiments on Adam, and then they refused to show Juliet because they knew that she would freak out, and she was like, oh no, I won't freak out, and then she freaked out, lo and behold. Okay, anyway, so like she genuinely reminds me of those times my mom goes like oh, you can tell me anything, I won't get angry, and then I tell her and then she gets angry. Like it's just so annoying. Also she blew up that base in Point Omega, and then after that there was this entire monologue about her wondering why people are avoiding her in the hallways, why people like are scared of her, even though she thought that she would finally find a place where she belonged. And I actually found this like so unrealistic because first of all, you were literally sitting there moping around after you got to Point Omega, like you did nothing. Even Adam was doing something, you did nothing. And second of all, you blew up the place. Of course people would avoid you, of course they would blame you. Why is that surprising? I don't get it. And okay, and Nazira. Now, I had such high expectations for Nazira. Like, God, if it were not the fact that I knew that Nazira would eventually appear in like the 4th book or something, I would have DNF'd that series a long time ago. And unfortunately, she ended up disappointing me because I don't know. Like, I just don't think that her character was as well written as she could have been. So yeah, she was a disappointment. Selena Sardothian, so we're moving on to Sarah J. Maas series now. She was a pygmy, and God, please let her die. There was this one scene, okay, why do I call her pygmy? There was this one scene where she was talking to, I forgot the end named princess or something, like the princess. And then the princess was asking her like, oh, are all girls in the palace like this? And then she was like, oh yes, all the girls are basically bitches, and then they should all die. Like, what? Girl, first of all, you didn't even meet all the girls in the palace. Like, why can you say that they're all bad? I don't get this. She was genuinely like such a pick-me in that scene, and I hated her so much for that. And then next is Elaine. So I think that I genuinely did not like Elaine. I don't think that she was kind of forgettable, to be honest. So I don't want her to die exactly, but I would put her in the I don't like you section because Thera and Nesta got their character arcs, and Elaine was just, she was just kind of there, which I found like she could have done so much more, but no, she was just kind of there. And Nesta, God, I will die for Nesta. Her character arc was just amazing. She went from the hated sister. Okay, so at the beginning when she was making fair hunt for them and stuff, I think that genuinely I would have done the same thing if I were in her situation, because she had just basically lost everything, and then she had just lost her pride, and she was just so. I think that I genuinely related to her in the point in the section where she was even from the very beginning, she was just a very relatable character to me. And I think that in the end, her character arc, her plot, and then like how she became the ruler or the queen of death or something, lady of the night, or like not, no, that was fair, like queen of death. And I think that she was like, it was great. I loved her plot. And then Feyre, now I like the more I think about it, the more I don't like her, because like when I was reading the series, I already disliked her, and like towards the end I hated her even more. But the reason why I won't put her in God Please Die is because like at the beginning I genuinely did root for her, but then when she became a fae and got all that, like all the magic, and basically became a kind of Mary Sue, to be honest, like the charm of her character just faded. And I just think that like I liked her in the first book, but in the end, after her charm faded, she just genuinely like wasn't so special anymore. So I didn't like her that much. Beth Harmon. Now I know that there was a TV show, but after reading the book, I will say that I will die for Beth. Like genuinely, like her plot with her struggling as both like a genius and with her pill and alcohol addiction, that plot was just great. I loved it so much, and I think that she was a like one of the best written characters that I have ever read about. So now we're moving on to the Natural series, and this is, I think this is, what was it? Oh, Cassie Hobbs, yes. So Cassie, I didn't like Cassie, to be honest. Like the fact that I genuinely don't like characters who think that who are involved in love triangles, but even evaluating her character like based on her character like alone, I just feel like her character didn't go as deep as it could have gone. And I didn't really like her relationship with Dean, I think his name was, because I didn't like Dean that much either, but it just didn't go as deep as it could have gone, and I'm kind of disappointed about that. Sloane is such a lovable Pookie. God, I loved her so much. Like I think that it was in the Las Vegas, the book where they were in Las Vegas, and then her entire plot was revealed. She was such a precious character then. I think that I will die for her, but I didn't love her. I liked her definitely, but I didn't love her. So she is in Lovable Pookies. So Leah, I will die for Leah. She is so hot, first of all. Her character was just so well written, and genuinely, like, everything about her was great. Her backstory about how she was like raised in a cult, I think that it fitted her character so well, and I loved her. She's gone through so much. So now we're moving on to Circe, and I do feel like Circe was a well-written character, but in the end, the plot got really weird, and like she married Odysseus's son after she fell in love with Odysseus, which I found really weird, but I did love her. So I'll put her I'll put her in Lovable Pookies, because I did love her throughout the series. I think that she was a very well-written character, but then the end just got really weird. So I can't put her in the I Will Die For You tier, even though I really loved her. And this is Elspeth from what was it called? One Dark Window, and I think that she was just very mid. I genuinely forgot about her because she had no personality. Like, yeah, she was very mid. I don't know, more needs to be said. So this is the Grishaverse. Okay, so first of all is Neige. I loved Neige. She was definitely like a lovable Pookie. Her backstory and her present moment arc was just very well written. I think that I loved her. Also, like how she received her abilities was like very realistic to say, because I think that like her backstory really reflected on her current character. So she was very well written. Maybe I'll put her like, she was great. Zoya, I will die for Zoya. She was hot. She was girl boss. Her backstory was great, and I loved her relationship with Nikolai. Also, like the plot where she was under the training of that dragon dude, I think that was a great plot. And then like the plot where her aunt dies, like, God, that was so sad. I think that I genuinely understand how she was affected by that, and that was shown very clearly in the series. Nina was definitely like lovable Pookie. I liked her more than Neige, I would say. I hated actually her plot with Han in the end, how she fell in love with Han right after she buried Matthias. So I would just pretend that plot did not exist because I hated that. But then in the Six of Crows series, like her relationship with Matthias and how she sacrificed herself to save others by like using the Juniperum even though she knew what was going to happen to her, I think that it really shows her character well. Juliet, and this is Juliet's high. I don't know why there's so many Juliet characters, but okay. So Juliet's high from These Violent Delights, I was really disappointed by her, so I really didn't like her. And the reason for this is because I was expecting so much more from her. Like, I was so excited to finally see somebody from my ethnicity be represented in a book, and then in the end, she was just not that great, to be honest. And her character was like really contradictory at times. Like, what do you mean she's so heartless? She has such a big reputation, but at the same time, she's like so kind. Like, I guess I really hate this duality when I see it in characters. I just don't think that it shows the character very well. And if it were like this developmental arc, then I would think that it's a great developmental arc. But then it was not really like an arc for her. It was just her entire personality. So no. And Peyton. Now you may be wondering who I would put in this last tier of how is this character even legal, and lo and behold it's Peyton Gray. Because God, okay, I hated Powerless first of all. I think that it was terribly written, but even ignoring the fact that Powerless was terribly written, how Peyton was literally like the only character worse than Peyton was Kai, because I genuinely hated him. But Peyton was just got a close second to my least favorite character. First of all, she is a supposedly strong female character until Kai shows up, and then she's just like a weak, sad, lovable little thing, and she has to have Kai save her whenever he's around, even though she could hold her ground perfectly well, I would say, when he's not around. And then she was like, oh, I need to lay low throughout the series, and I need to like not draw attention to myself. And then she literally shows up in the gown with the most like eye-catching, attention-grabbing dress ever. And then she's just trying to stick out. Like, at that point, you're literally just attention-seeking, or you're just stupid. Like, why would you show up in a gown after you know that you need the sponsors, you need the whatever, you need to like lay low, and then you just show up making everyone hate you? Girl, what? I just think that she's a terribly written character, and God, she should die. And then, finally, the Folk of the Air series. Now, I love the Folk of the Air. I think that it's my favorite read of all time ever. And Siren, I will die for Siren. I will say though, like, I think I like Siren in the first book more than her in the second book, because I think that Siren's character in the first book, her backstory reflected into her character very well, how she was kind of like wild, but at the same time she was very clever in that wildness. And but in the second book, she kind of changed to the point where she was like very cold. But I still loved her when she was like, you know, cold and apathetic, because I think that she was a very great character arc, like based on what had happened to her, because that was some traumatic things, you know. And then, but I think that I liked her in the first book, but she was great overall. Jude, I will die for Jude. Seriously, I will die for her. She was girl boss. And the main difference, I think that she was very different from a lot of the other girl boss characters in these fantasy novels, because we actually got to see her suffering. It wasn't just like, oh, a traumatic backstory gets slapped onto her and then suddenly she's a well-written character. It's like genuinely that we saw her humiliated in the series. We saw her looked down upon. We saw how even her own little brother had made her slap herself again and again, even though, and like obviously I don't blame O for that, because he did not know any better. But I think that like really showed her humiliation amongst the Fae really well, and how she suffered so much. And like in the end, I was rooting for her to get that crown, because she deserved it so much. Also, the fact that she was humiliated, and then that sometimes she allowed herself to be humiliated just so that she could you know, maintain that power, shows how much she's willing to give up for power. And I think that that's a genuinely like a very good thing in characters, to show that like just how much they would give up to reach their final goal. Terran. Now, I think that Terran was definitely wrong in betraying Jude, and like I like 100% blame Locke for that, but I did kind of blame Taryn for the fact that she chose Jude over Locke, even though Jude would have died for her. But I also didn't hate like Taryn. I think that her plot was very well written. The fact that she like wanted acceptance and then she couldn't get acceptance, so she could only find it in a place where, you know, it was like it was not a great place. She could only find it, that acceptance in Locke, and in the end she chose to kill him because she realized that he was also using her like everyone else. I think that she was a great character, so I will put her in lovable Pookies because I think that her plot was just, it was great. And the last we have Violet Soaringale. So I think that she should die because, well, I hate her. Like at the beginning she was okay, but then I really didn't buy into the plot where like, oh, she was also so small and petite, but she's also so strong and so powerful. And I really hated her romance with Satan because it was like she was so infantilized in that romance plot, that to the point where I was genuinely thinking that maybe Satan was like her older brother, because how differently they're portrayed. And yep, this is the end of my ranking, and wow, this is a great tier list. Very controversial, I know. So anyways, so yeah, this is the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.